Welcome back, friends. Let's continue this journey. Let's now try to look at some of the common questions related to coaching. If coaches were really that good that they can always hit the target and they are the best and they bring out the best in everyone, then why is it that some coaches sometimes fail to achieve results? This clearly is not something that we are just making it up and for theoretical consideration only, and that it never happens in real life. It happens all the time in real life. Why is that? If you look at the sports metaphor once again, why do is it that the best coaches out there, the best teams out there, the most talented players out there, those teams lose as well sometimes. Sometimes they lose the most crucial game of the year, the most difficult, the most hard-fought game, but and yet they feel they fall short at the end. Or there could be games when the game would absolutely be in their back pocket. Nobody would even expect them to put up a fight for the other team to put up a fight against them, and yet they squander away the opportunities and they lose. So why does this happen? Let's again take a broad look and then we'll go deeper to figure out some of the things that could be at play when this could happen. So again, the question that we're trying to answer is, if you've got the best coach in the world, if you've got the best players, the best executive team in the world, and yet something is not working, and yet either on specific projects we have failed, or overall we're not able to achieve the results. Why could this happen? Here are some of the factors. There could be a lack of chemistry. As simple as that. We are all humans. No matter how well we are supposed to work together on paper, in theory, the reality is that we all have personalities, we have personality types, we've got the ways that we operate, and sometimes it just doesn't work the way somebody else rubs us, if they were to rub us the wrong way, or other factors could happen. Lack of chemistry may not be most strong and determining factor, but it does happen and we need to factor that in. Focus on what worked in the past. Oftentimes, when coaches come in and they begin a new relationship, they are hired primarily as a result of their past results, past successes that they've achieved at other ventures. They sometimes come and bring in the same formula that has worked for them, and they try to apply that formula in this new environment. It may not always work like that. Life is not a matter of cut and paste, and what you cut from the other place would work exactly as is without any modifications. So, what worked in the past for you may not necessarily work for you again. A lot of things could be different. The whole dynamic could be different. The industry could be different. The timing could be different. The economy could be different. The customers could be different. So, based on all of those factors, as we have said multiple times, business is a very fluid environment. It's constantly changing. We need to change, we need to adapt with it. So, again, what worked in the past may not have worked in the past. So, if the coach or the coaching relationship is based entirely on what happened and what worked in the past, it may not work in the current environment. Let's keep going. High on emotions, low on strategy. Some of the people have a tendency, have a personality type. They could be very energized when they're speaking with all their gestures and the types of speeches they're able to make. They can really motivate someone. They could energize someone. They could get someone to get up and take an action, which is all good. And these are all exceptional qualities. But imagine this. Imagine that you are playing for a basketball game against a team that's roughly about your equal in terms of the team strength, and yet at the half point of the game, you are losing miserably. You are 25 points behind. Imagine a conversation in the locker room. Imagine the coach telling you, making that kind of a speech that we just talked about, very motivational, charged up to get you to get up and take actions and take charge of your life, take charge of this game, and hold the bull by the horn and make something happen. Your crowd wants it and you deserve it. This is what you are capable of doing. Imagine a speech like that. Again, very high on emotion score. But what about the strategy? What if the coach never tells you what are the areas where you're falling short? Maybe it's the passing game. Maybe it's the execution itself. Maybe on the 3 points you're making too many 3 point attempts and you're losing out on that, or maybe you're giving up too many fouls. Whatever it is, you cannot be very high on emotions and not high enough on the strategy. They both go hand in hand. Strategy is what ultimately will win the game, even though emotions, obviously, a high motivational score will definitely have a play as well. But a coach cannot just be focusing on emotions and not quite on the strategy. The lack of vision. The lack of vision here goes two ways. Either it's the lack of vision of the company and the founders themselves, where they want to take the company, or the understanding that the coach has developed about the vision that the company has. Again, one of them is the reality, the actual vision that the founders have. Second is the perception of the reality that the coach has been able to develop over a period of time, and they don't necessarily have to be completely in sync. So this could become a conflict when the company's owner and the management want to take the company in a certain direction, and coach understands their desire to take the company into a different direction, and now there's a conflict. So again, these two players completely have to be on the same page. They need to completely understand where they are, where they want to go, and how they want to get there. The lack of persistence. This happens as well when a lot of times when we fail to achieve the results and we don't do a true, a deeper analysis, self-analysis of what happened, why were we not able to achieve the results. In software development, there's a terminology called A/B testing. So you try to implement two different solutions, A and B, and you see which one of them is scoring well. And then if you once you're able to make the determination, you drop B and you implement A across the board. Great concept, but think about all the B's which you are writing off just because they did not compete well against the A. Think about how many successes, how many home runs could those bees potentially have contained. And just because you try to test them in a different environment on a different platform, it didn't work. But perhaps taking it a little, placing in a slightly different context, that may have given you a lot better results. This is about your persistence, that when you apply something, when something is not working, try to figure out what's happening, why, what is causing things to not work. Is it is it the idea itself, or is it the way you're implementing the idea, or is it the amount of resources you are putting into the idea, or is it about the amount of conflicting priorities that people have, and therefore they're not able to focus on the critical steps that your idea, that the implementation requires. If this is the level of persistence and you don't have enough of it, then your projects could fail and your relationships could fail, the coach could fail. Not because the coach is not the best coach or you don't have the best product, but just because somewhere, somehow, someone dropped the ball, or collectively we dropped the ball. Let's keep going. The lack of time, the lack of access to key executives. Again, hiring a coach is like having a teacher who is available to you, accessible to you on a regular basis. Now, again, you don't, if you have access to a teacher but you don't reach out to them, then the learning doesn't happen. So, in the same way, availability of time, it goes both ways. When the executive team has need for the coach must be available, or must be able to find time to be available to answer the questions for them, or to figure out whatever it is that they need help on. And conversely, whenever the coach wants to reach out to the executive team, they must make themselves available as well, because clearly both of these teams, they are fully aligned and they must be looking at the same end result. And if one team wishes to reach out to the other team to start a new discussion, a new conversation, or to discuss a new strategy, other team must always be available. So lack of time, lack of availability cannot become a factor. And when this happens, again, this we have seen in our consulting practice as well. When this happens, it does not go well for the relationship. And finally, again, we are looking at some of the factors why some of the best coaches, the most successful coaches, may not work or may not achieve the lofty results in certain environments. In some cases, simply a failure to engage. Maybe the coach has got too many other commitments. Maybe the coach doesn't have enough time, or not. Maybe the coach doesn't have enough motivation. Or maybe the executive team has engaged the coach knowing in their mind that they don't really have to invest in this relationship and that they're already heading in the right direction. So they mentally they fail to engage. This could happen at multiple level, and but regardless of who initiates that, if ultimately if this is what is happening, then the marriage between the two, then the firm handshake between the two, the cohesive partnership, it simply doesn't happen. And when that happens, that's what happens when sometimes the best coaching, the best coaches, they're not able to achieve results.